Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming to the channel. Today we are going to do my first YouTube video, my first Let's Play video, and also my very first Skyrim SE playthrough. Now, some of this is going to be, I'm going to basically explain anything that I can while we're going through it or as it's happening, reasons of why I'm doing what I'm doing. With that being said, some of the information that I have is from like consoles or the original Skyrim when it was released. I'm not completely up to date on all the patches or something like that. So if I do misquote something or I do claim something based off of the information that I know or I believe to be true, it may or may not always translate directly to the SE version of what's been patched. With that being said, I will try to cut the this stuff, when I'm explaining things. I'll try not to talk over NPCs when they're explaining the, critical details, etc. We will be doing a dual wield warrior with no restrictions on a legendary setup. I don't have the survival yet, so if at some point later we may end up doing a survival build. With that being said, let's let the cast take it over here.
You were trying to cross the border, right? Walked right into that Imperial ambush, same as us. And that thief over there.
Damn you stormcloaks. Skyrim was fine until you came along. Empire was nice and lazy. If they hadn't been looking for you, could have stolen that horse and been halfway to Hammerfell. You there, you and me, we shouldn't be here. It's these stormcloaks the Empire wants.
We're all brothers and sisters in binds now, thief.
Shut up back there.
What's wrong with him, huh?
Watch your tongue. You're speaking to Ulfric Stormcloak, the true High King.
Ulfric? The Jarl of Windhelm? You're the leader of the rebellion. But if they captured you... Oh gods, where are they taking us?
I don't know where we're going, but Sovngarde awaits.
No, this can't be happening. This isn't happening.
Hey, what village are you from, horse thief?
Why do you care?
A Nord's last thoughts should be of home.
Rorikstead. I'm from Rorikstead.
General Tullius, sir. The headsman is waiting.
Good. Let's get this over with.
Sure. Mara, Debella, Kinnarev, Akatosh, Divines, please help me.
Look at him. General Tullius, the military governor. And it looks like the Dalmor are with him. Damn elves. I bet they had something to do with this. This is Helgen. I used to be sweet on a girl from here. Wonder if Vilod is still making that mead with juniper berries mixed in. Funny. When I was a boy, imperial walls and towers used to make me feel so safe.
To go inside.
Why? I want to watch the soldiers.
Inside the house. Now.
Yes, Papa. Get these prisoners out of the carts. Move it!
Why are we stopping?
Why do you think? End of the line. Let's go. Shouldn't keep the gods waiting for us.
No, wait! We're not rebels!
Face your death with some courage, thief.
You've got to tell them! We weren't with you! This is a mistake!
Step towards the block when we call your name. One at a time.
Empire loves their damn lists.
Ulfric Stormcloak, Jarl of Windhelm.
It has been an honor, Jarl Ulfric.
Ralof of Riverwood. Lokir of Rorikstead.
No! I'm not a rebel! You can't do this!
Halt!
You're not gonna kill me!
Archers! Anyone else feel like running?
Wait. You there.
Step forward. Who are you?
Alright, so here we're actually going to play an orc. There are a couple different races you could pick. I think the orc is actually the best race in the game, period. With that being said, there are a couple notable mentions, one of which is, especially for warriors, one of which is the Breton. The Breton gets damage resistance or magic damage resistance for its passive. I believe it's like 50%. It might be 25. But that damage resistance is really good. Or magic resistance is really good. The problem, especially good early, because mages are kind of the bane of warriors right off the bat. The problem that I have with it is that eventually, once you push your enchanting up and you've got your enchanting to where you want it, you'll be able to enchant your gear to create the same resistance, and since it comes to a cap at 85%, there's no point once you have that to go beyond it. So once you've got that setup, you no longer need that resistance. Additionally, they have dragon skin, which allows you to absorb magic and turn it into magicka, basically nullifying any damage from magic that comes in. Again, that also is really powerful early when you're facing mages. However, once you get later and you've got maybe an Atronach stone or you've got some points into alteration, you're already being able to do that. So in that scenario, when you get to end build, right, I feel like the Breton is really good early but falls off late. The same scenario kind of happens for the Nords, where they have the cold resistance. So in that scenario, it actually doubles and makes you even better against cold. But like I said, once you're you could do that if you were really, really bipartisan against orcs, because the orc's ability for Berserk allows them to do twice as much damage and then take half damage, making kind of a 4x difference between what its output is and versus its input. Because of that, it takes legendary whenever you pop that and kind of puts it on par with adept or a 1-to-1 ratio. I think that once you have magic resistance and physical resistance up there to their caps, you've essentially got as much resistance as possible or as ever possible. So then increasing your damage and then halving the damage you're taking in is even better, and that applies across the board. Whereas with Nord, doing this for cold resistance, let's say if you had a 50% resistance to cold and you still got to the 85% magic resistance, you would only be restricting yourself cold damage by another 50%. So you would be effectively doing the exact same thing as the Berserk one or Berserk ability would also do during that time frame. You just get it passively versus having to hit Berserk, and you have that all the time instead of just during Berserk. You just don't get the damage buff. So that's kind of the few things. The other one, if you were doing like an unarmed build, you would probably go with a Khajiit to make their claws make their unarmed strikes deadly. That's really fun. I think that's actually been patched or played with in some way for SE to make unarmed even more viable. Here he is going to be a dual-wielding light armor warrior. I've done the heavy armor build version of it a lot in my other, like on my console games and stuff like that when I played. I really enjoyed the Daedric look, and it also helped for my weapons pathing. So the light armor build is actually something that I've never really pursued or gone through. So that's going to be fun and new. Because of that, we're going to go with Spartacus for the name, because I really like the show. Now, historically, dual-wield warriors were duelists and not very common in totality, right? There was definitely not a style that you took into large combat. But, so we've named him Spartacus, part because I like that story, and part because, the TV series on Netflix or whatnot actually showcases him utilizing that combat style. So, I felt the name was fitting, and we will go from there.
Ulfric Stormcloak. Some here in Helgen call you a hero, But a hero doesn't use a power like the voice to murder his king and usurp his throne. You started this war, plunged Skyrim into chaos, and now the Empire is going to put you down and restore the peace.
What was that?
It's nothing. Carry on.
Yes, General Tullius. Give them their last rites.
As we commend your souls to Aetherius, blessings of the 8 divines upon
For the
you.
love of Talos, shut up and let's get this over with.
Learn. As you wish.
Come on! I haven't got all morning. My ancestors are smiling at me, Imperials. Can you say the same?
You Imperial bastards!
Justice!
Death to the Stormcloaks!
As fearless in death as he was in life.
Next, the orc.
Here it is again. Did you hear that?
I said next prisoner.
To the block, prisoner. Nice and easy.
What in oblivion is that?
Sentries. What do you see?
It's in the clouds.
Dragon!
Alright, so before we get too far into this, I'm not going to do, it's not a speed run, so we're not going to do any like wall jumps or, you know, jumping through the world or glitching across the world. We are doing the legendary setting, so wanted to show that. My sensitivity is really low, and so is my DPI on my mouse. It's as close to as like a first-person shooter type game that as I can get. My DPI, I believe, is 700 or 800, and this is my sensitivity. We are playing at the legendary, and we're going to go through the beginning as fast as possible because we want to get into the actual story and into the rest of the game, but we aren't going to be speed running it like some of those like 35-minute finishes or anything like that.
Be true. Just need to move some of these rocks to clear the way. Hammond, you need to get over here. Now! Attaboy, you're doing great. Toro! Everyone get back! Still alive, prisoner? Keep close to me. Stay close to the wall. It's you and me.
Right, so here we have the choice between Ralof and Hadvar. You don't actually have to have them finish their talk or anything like that. You can just run at the door that which one would respectively take. I almost exclusively take Ralof here. I believe it gives us the best start, the most options, and anything I would get from going with Hadvar, I can get by going with Ralof, where that doesn't hold true the other way. For example, coming up we'll have a fight with a captain, the same one that actually sends you to the block first or second. She, when you kill her, she has an officer helmet you can get. It's one of the only ways to get the officer's helmet early, or at least to guarantee it. You can still get the rest of the heavy armor from the captain down later. However, her helmet specifically is you can't. So with that, we can get a full set of heavy armor. That isn't going to pertain to our character here because we are doing a light armor build. However, everything that we could have gotten through Hadfar, like the iron swords or the Imperial stuff, is going to be available. I also don't really want the irons. I'd prefer the steel. So killing Imperials is a lot better for us to do that rather than killing Stormcloaks, because they run around with a bunch of iron stuff. Here I'm attacking Rayloff to level my one-handed. I'm doing it because the goal is to get 30 one-handed or better before we leave the tutorial. We're not going to cheese it and do like 50 or 100 one-handed. That would just be no fun, I think. But we will utilize what time we can, or what points we can, points of opportunity, or attacks of opportunity, essentially, to get some of it. As you can see, they don't take a whole lot of damage in Legendary with this super overpowered Iron Axe. But lucky for us, we have the unkillable Rayloff with us, and he is tanking it up as best as he can. We could potentially pull aggro. It's almost impossible to do it if you do it like this. You'd have to get in between him and them and probably take some damage, but you have to like prevent their ability to get to him. And if you do that, you could find yourself in a situation where they drop aggro on him and start aggro on you. If you noticed, I put the dagger in my left hand and the sword in my right hand. The sword has a faster attack speed than the axe, and that allows us to get more one-handed attacks in. This also allows us to level it up faster. So, our one-handed skill. So since we're trying to level one-handed skill, that makes a lot of sense. We could use the dagger in the other hand. However, we're not going to be doing a whole bunch of power attacks. The sword in the right hand determines the stamina for the power attack. We also want to do a little bit more damage than the dagger will allow us, because I'd like to get through it. I believe the weapon, so the dagger would also grant us less one-handed per. I can't confirm that, but it would make sense to me. Here we're going to stay sneak again, just like before, till they start attacking Rayloff. Once they're engaged, they're again kind of locked on him, and once the lock-on happens, we're free to toss out these one-handed attacks as much as possible. We are going to pick up a bunch of alchemy mats. We will do quite a bit of alchemy. We don't have, because we're doing a no-modded legendary run, we're doing the no-mod run because if I feel like showcasing a build or something like that, or a playthrough or a let's play with the mod on for, let's say, the one I like, weightless alchemy, right, which makes the ingredients not cost any weight. Putting that on would not necessarily be an accurate depiction for anybody, right? They would have to have that mod to copy what we were doing. Oh no, I think I lost a rock warbler over there. Where did you go?
Done. Let's get moving.
Well, unfortunately, I lost a rock warbler egg, but. So we're still trying to get to that 30 or better. Just kind of the goal is to get to the 30. Now, stop attacking me, please. Attack somebody else. There you go. We'll hit the assistant here. So we may end up picking up a shield at some point. We're not going to pick up the iron shield or anything like that, because those all qualify as heavy armor, and we don't want to level our heavy armor unless specifically looking to do it for like levels. We are going to run the light armor build. We may pick up a light armor shield at some point, just for that that reason. The lockpicking strategy I use is little taps like this to try and find the point. So like here it won't budge, but here it does. And then here it won't budge, but here it does. So I know that I'm between here and here. So I kind of expect it to be somewhere around that location in the middle. The harder the lock, the more lockpicks you end up breaking. I've also found with master or with a controller, I can't make the tiny tests as well, and so I break more lockpicks regardless. There we go. Now when we level, we'll level up here in a minute. We're not going to level up our skills yet. We're going to kind of hold on to the perk points, but we are going to level our health, and we're going to level our health more than our stamina. We will get. We're going to kind of use a 2-to-1 health to stamina ratio. The stamina will eventually, I believe, become obsolete whether we do a stamina absorb on the weapon or something like that, or we utilize a healing spell to do that with some other perks. We'll determine that in a bit and figure that out. But overall, I think stamina's, it unfortunately doesn't operate like ESO, where having points of stamina increases the amount of damage your stamina attacks do. If that became a thing, that would be amazing and give you a reason to do stamina. But it's not, so we're just gonna do this. Get a lot of health, because eventually stamina won't be a problem. I do wish they had kind of a better way to know what you were doing, like kind of like a lock-on system. I think Skyrim would actually be really interesting to play with a lock-on system, kind of like Dark Souls has. Oh, we are overburdened. And here, we are actually going to put a few of these things on our bar. So we'll our favorites bar. So now that we've hit the overburden portion once, we're just going to take the armor and the arrows. The arrows don't weigh anything. The armor isn't going to hurt. And we still have a longbow. We have 2 longbows. We're going to fix that. And we'll put this on 8. There we go. So come on, big guy. Go across the bridge. There, we've made it to and past our goal of 30. We're also going to get 20 sneak because that's going to help us with early game like dungeons and stuff like that. I feel like it's a decent number, and I kind of feel when in my previous plays that once kind of like a break point, like once you get, you're easy to spot, and then once you get to 20 you're a little harder to spot. It's probably not noticeable, but it's it makes me feel like it's true, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Doesn't go anywhere. Guess we better try this way.
What are you doing?
There we go. It's 3 for 3. So we're going to put some apparel on. We don't really need the fur boots, so we're going to put on the light armor. You could go with the studded, but we can't improve that, so I'm actually going to end up selling that, so I figure I'll just stick with the light armor. Alright, so one of the spiders is apparently going to play by himself. There we go. Again, we're using the same kind of lock-on strat, where we're letting them get onto Rayloff and then blasting them away. We are going to pick up all of this
Too many eyes, you know?
frostbite venom. And these spider eggs. We will do a lot of alchemy. The spider eggs are actually utilized, I believe, in some poisons. Alchemy is really good for early game gold, and you know, early game gold is good for leveling skills. I also use an application on my phone to do my alchemy. It allows me to put in my current point, or you know, my current level of this skill, of my alchemy skill, my current points, perk points that I have in it, and I can put in my ingredients and sort by potential potions that I can create that with the highest potential values. It's called, I believe the app's name is just Skyrim Alchemy.
Try to sneak by. Just take it nice and slow. And watch where you step. Or if you're feeling
So here we're gonna actually sneak by. We're gonna level our sneak against that bear. We're gonna push past the bear and get over here so that Rayloff stops following us, because he can cause some problems if we ever get spotted by the bear, where he starts attacking it and that just gets to be a pain. But here the bear is, you know, over there. We're going to level it. I have seen some videos on how to power level this, or how to level this way. Most of the time the videos that I see say that you need to come up here and hit this eyeball so that it turns around and it you know, detects you, and then to do that. The problem with that is that it's essentially just like as if you had shot it with an arrow. It does, when you get spotted, it does do an initial like tick of extra for the leveling. However, one of the things that I've found is that, for example, if it's here and you go hidden so he can see me, and then I go hidden right here, and then I come back, he can see me, because he's not in a he's technically in a kind of like what you would consider to be a heightened state, where he's actively looking for me. Because he's in that state, none of that actually counts towards my sneak level, or sneak leveling. So here, interestingly enough, any action that you're doing when they are in a non-heightened state, like so, and I am considered hidden, which we can see by the crosshairs here, as long as I am doing some action, whether that would be pickpocketing or stealing, or even just moving back and forth, running like this, when doing that will actually count as an action, and has all the pre-qualifiers where they're not looking for us yet, and we are in stealth and doing an action. So here, if I can ever stop proccing it. You can see that I'm just going back and forth. I got the level there. I should be able to get this this 19 level and all the way to 20 entirely without proccing the animal. Now, you could do it from over there, you could do it from over there, you could do it from where I'm at. I prefer to do it here, whether it's because I'm closer and it feels like it levels faster, or just because I've got these rocks here to kind of just be like, okay, so don't go past here, and I can always hide behind this rock if I need to. Some other things while we're going back and forth and just kind of mind numbing this this portion. Some other things that we are going to touch on probably later, but we'll touch on now are we are going to go with dual swords. I like axes, and axes are a lot of fun, but the problem with the axe tree is that the bleed that you get for the axe is based off the material of the item. So if you had, let's say, 2 Daedric axes, you would only have 1 bleed. You would have to have a Daedric axe and a Dragonbone and an Ebony axe in order to get the double bleed to stack up. So in that scenario, it seems to be, if you wanted to have the highest hitting items and all the time, then you wouldn't be able to utilize the bleed on the axe, because that just wouldn't it wouldn't stack fast enough, or it wouldn't even you'd be overriding your bleed over and over with each different weapon. The maces get armor penetration. The reason armor penetration is less useful is because mobs or non-player characters receive armor at a much slower rate. Than the players do. So for example, we get armor as we build it, but in the event, like, so the idea is, like, if we got 2 armor for every level, the mob only gets a quarter armor for level. Being on legendary doesn't change that fact, it just makes the mob have more health. So while the increased end damage of the mace would be very, very helpful, the armor penetration really doesn't do much for us. If the mobs got to really high armor values, it would make sense. But I think I can't. The last time I researched the maces and the armor on mobs, I think the highest armor that a mob can get to in the game was like maybe 500, which means that with 35% we'd be taking, or 30% armor penetration, I think we'd take away 150 of that. Comparatively, getting an extra swing or an extra crit or 30% higher on crits, I think outweighs the armor penetration, especially if you're utilizing something like an Elemental Fury build or something like that. So we will be sticking with swords. Obviously, while leveling, we'll use whatever we can that's best. Now that we have our sneak set up, we're going to actually pull the bear and try to get Ralof to fight it. We also may pop one of our level ups. Here we go. See if Ralof can make this thing get mad again. There we go. So we're picking the reason we went ahead and pulled the bear is because we want the bear claws. The bear claws are really good for some high level poisons, and unless you're going to go out and find cave bears and hunt them down over and over and over again, they're fewer and farther between than some other things. We'll be heading our way to Riverwood, and that I think we'll probably end after we're finished in Riverwood for the day. Here we're going to actually just kind of walk with Ralof. We're not going to sprint by him or anything like that. We're just going to walk with him. he'll be our super tank. Essentially, we'll pull what we want to into him. We'll veer off like we're doing here for some alchemy mats, like these snowberries or some mountain flowers or something like that. But overall, we're just gonna meander our way, take our time, and be safe.
I wouldn't have made it without your help today. You know, you should go to Windhelm and join the fight to free Skyrim. You've seen the true face of the Empire.
I'm not sure. So he offers us to go to Windhelm and free Skyrim with the Stormcloaks. I'm not sure if I'll go there. I usually do. I don't think I've ever actually done a full like imperialization build or playthrough where I fight for the Empire and do that. I've had a few where I try to like start it or start that way. There's my blue butterfly. But so we might do that. Let me know in the comments if you prefer one or the other, or if you want to see this specific character become a essentially a knight for the Empire, or a Ravager, or a Berserker for the Stormcloaks. We're going to take the Warrior Stone here because we want to increase our one-handed as quickly as possible. Our armor will also increase. Light armor is more of a thief thing, I believe, or fits into the thief setup. But we're trying to get the one-handed. The one-handed is by far the hardest to level. If we need to power level the medium armor, we'll just find a medium armor shield, find a mud crab, and have him punch us essentially while we're healing ourselves over and over again. You gotta be careful. Sometimes that third wolf likes to be over there and near the mine, and if you're not walking next to Raylof, that can cause some problems, because the wolves we're not quite yet super powerful, and wolves are kind of a pain. So if he had procced or pulled the group of the wolves, we would have a fight on our hands. Unfortunately, I don't see them at the moment. They're usually right up here. Let's see what happens. We'll get a butterfly. See if we can make some wolves mad. I don't see them at all. Maybe they're farther down. Well, looks like we got lucky, or unlucky, depending on how much we wanted the wolf pelts. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to find those particular wolves again. Like I said, we are going to do a lot of alchemy, and we will, so we'll be picking up a lot of alchemy mats. We're probably going to have to stash them in a place somewhere in the world for a while, but... Oh. There you are. Yes. There's one. Where are the other two? Are you still running? They look like they should be right around this corner. I think we'll go look for them later. So we're going to talk to Faendel here, start his quest. We're actually going to help him out.
I see you talking to Sven. He thinks his ballad, an intelligent, beautiful woman like her. I don't need your jokes. Could Could you give her this letter and say it's
So
from
we're gonna help Faendale because he'll become our follower. We can take his stuff and loot his house essentially.
Maybe you could talk some sense into my pighead. Another poem. What's this? You can tell Sven that he already has a mother. I'm not
And we're also going to offer to help him with getting his golden claw back. It'll make him stay open during nighttime and stuff like that. Makes him basically a 24-hour vendor, which is good for us. Alvor here, we're going to sell some of the stuff that we've picked up because we want to have a little bit of extra room for when we loot Faendal's house and so on and so forth. We'll actually get rid of our longbow because we won't need that.
Until next time.
the mountain just over the building.
Alright. So it looks like we're about ready to start the old talk. Looks like Laud's probably still got to get here. He's going to become our follower. And then we are going to talk to him and trade some things with him. Take everything he has. And then he'll head back home. He just basically comes back to Riverwood and hangs out.
That was 2 days ago now. We stopped in Helgen this morning.
So we'll put this on the quick menu because that's going to replace that.
I thought it was all over.
And then we
Lined up to the headsman's block and ready
listen to them.
shopping.
The cowards.
They wouldn't dare give Ulfric a fair trial. Treason for fighting for your own people. All of Skyrim would have seen the truth then. But then, out of nowhere, a dragon attacked.
You don't mean a real, live...
I can hardly believe it myself. And I was there. As strange as it sounds, we'd be dead if not for that dragon. In the confusion, we managed to slip away. Are we really the first to make it to Riverwood?
Nobody else has come up the south road today, as far as I know.
Good. Maybe we can lay up for a while. I hate to put your family in danger, Gerda, but...
Nonsense. You and your friend are welcome to stay here as long as you need to. Let me worry about the Imperials. Any friend of Raylof's is a friend of mine. Here's the key to the house. Stay as long as you like. If there is anything else you need, just let me know.
Alright, so we're going to clean her out here. We'll also clean out her house here in a bit. And then we're also going to clean out Faendal's house. We both have some alchemy mats and some other basic materials. We'll sell it. We're just trying to collect some gold and get a base set up.
I'll be in your debt.
We can also utilize Faendal's box in his house if we need to store items.
Must be mad hiding out there. Those old crypts are filled with nothing but traps, trolls, and who knows what else.
Kicking pots around.
Wonder what he's lost. Besides his mind.
We got a lot of carrots there. We might be able to do some cooking. So since we made Faendal our friend, we should be able to take almost everything inside of the house. Obviously, there will be a few things that we can't. But not a lot. Take that. Here's the alchemy mats we were talking about, and these chicken eggs. And then we've got turn that that basket back in. We didn't really actually want that at all. That's another potion of true shot. So while we won't be putting a bunch of points into archery or anything like that. Really, it's more for pulling, like pulling animals or pulling people or something like that into a spot that's a little easier for us to get to, or isolating them. But of course, you can't do that with a weak item. So we'll probably use whatever the best bows we find are. There we go. She also has some chicken eggs on the table. Wonder if Feindal was stealing them from her. After all, he did have us coerce a woman into liking him by eliminating the competition. He's kind of a shady dude. Here we're going to pick up the soul gem. There's the carrots. Some more coin. Alright, so that is all for her place, I believe. Okay. Now we're going to go sell to Alvor. We'll go across the way, get some rest as well, and see if we can't get some of that.
You're going to looking to protect yourself or deal some damage.
So let's see. You can have one hunting bow. You can have the iron dagger, the iron mace, the iron sword. And we'll keep the arrows because they weigh nothing. You can have the banded shield. It can't have any of our light armor, but it can have the iron helmet. And then miscellaneous wise, we'll keep all of that. Then we'll come over here to our tanning rack. Make some leather from the pelts that we do have. We won't have as many because we didn't get the other wolves. But 22 is plenty. And we're going to put that armor on so that we don't freeze like he was talking about. So now we're actually going to wait. We'll sleep when it becomes nighttime. He's actually going to go inside and we're going to steal those armor and steel, or iron and steel. But during the meantime, we're going to go across the river and wait for it to turn nighttime. So that we can get this. Some more alchemy mats over here, and we're also going to kill us a mud crab. He should prove to be quite the challenge. I'm kidding. There's that, and our mud crab friend should be right here. Now you kind of dance with the mud crabs so that you don't get hit. A small mud crab like that with on the legendary difficulty, he would have taken probably a tenth of my health away. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a whole bunch, but ironically, the bigger ones take a lot more, and they, it's kind of funny, but you can actually get overwhelmed by mud crabs. So we're going in the Riverwood Trader. The things we want to do here, we're going to get some wheat from Orgnar. We're also going to get that quest from him. It's not really. And we're also going to get, before we actually do his quest, we're actually going to get the room and get some sleep so that we actually have the whatchamacallit, a rested bonus. That's what we were looking for.
Hard not to.
Here, we'll rent a room. The thing that the we'll get from the
Yep, ale's going.
alchemy, those will allow us to actually pull up, and we can sell them to the guy down in the Riverwood Trader. So we're gonna get it, let it go to 725. Everything really kind of starts up at around 8. It'll give us some time to do, do the alchemy and to get ready before all the shops open.
Guess you don't have potatoes in your ears after all. Just make sure we get a fresh batch in soon.
All right. So we'll take a look here. Take some time to do some alchemy here. I'm going to utilize the application that I was talking about.
Been poking around.
We're going to get the Frost Miriam, the Purple Mountain Flower, and the Wheat. We'll create this this potion, and then we're actually going to... Not looking to use my blue butterfly wings, so we're skipping through some of those. And there's the Blue Mountain Flower, bone meal, and the chicken eggs. Okay.
Give me a mug of ale. Coming right up.
See if this works. There we go. Alright, so we'll quit the alchemy there. That'll give us a little bit.
Coming right up.
And away we go. Now we're going to go over and do some smithing with Alvor. And we'll do some selling, finish off selling to him, and then we will sell to the Riverwood Trader. And that should pretty much wrap up everything we want out of these guys.
Blade? Yes, actually. How about you smith me an iron dagger? Here's everything. You need to make one. Go ahead. Not too shabby. Apprentice level work, but solid. Not bad, but it's a little dull. How about you sharpen it up? Just need a bit of metal and the grindstone over there. You the sneak. This look. You want to keep helping? How about you make some armor? Let's start by tanning some leather on the rack. Ah, good. A lot of weapons and armor need leather for straps, fittings, that.
Yeah. Need some?
Huh. I should hire you to be my assistant. This rate. You have talent.
Alright, so now that we've done that,
Maybe you'll remember me when you're making Skyforged steel, huh?
we'll talk to him. Well, sell
Weapons and armor.
one last time. Get the hunting bow. He can have the hunt.
Take a look.
And we'll keep that. Alright. And
Don't let my trinkets, odds and ends.
let's see if we can't take as much gold off of him as possible as well. We should be able, we won't need to use the magicka at all, so these novice hood and novice robes should go away. We'll be fine. We can get rid of these rings because we're not enchanting yet. potions. We're going to sell our ones that we made specifically for selling. Looks like we'll even get to keep one. And then we have the books. We'll leave that one because we're just going to learn it. Like so. And that should put us somewhere on the 1500 gold range, which is good. And then that should be it. We will wait and steal these ingots, these iron and steel, at nighttime. But we have essentially, we're also going to upgrade our armor here. So let's go ahead and do that before we actually leave. We'll go ahead and level up and see if we've got any extra stuff. So we've got health 2, stamina 1. Health 2, stamina 1. So here we're going to get our smithing. This will let us do steel. It's not a super big thing. We are going to go light armor because that should help us. That we are going to do our one-handed. I believe at 30 we're going to be able to get some into dual flurry up here. Make that faster. And then, or like I said, we're not going to invest into archery a whole lot, so damage mitigation is going to be big for us at some point. Not a whole lot right now, because if we get touched, we're just going to die by some of the larger mobs. But this will let us get some extra stuff for our light armor. Like I said, we'll sit here and we'll wait for nighttime. Should be about 12 hours. Alvor should leave, and then we should be able to steal those steel ingots, the iron ingots, and then we'll be able to upgrade our steel items, such as our Vandal. I'm going to need you to go away. Yeah, run home, please and thanks. Man, that guy can be annoying. We're just going to play it safe. Wait till Faendal gets his entire back to us. As it is, every time he gets to a point where he can kind of see us, he procs the eyeball and we would get caught and have a bounty in Whiterun. And no, I don't particularly want to fight the guards of the city just yet. There we go. Here we're going to upgrade these. We'll also be able to, because we did the point in the smithing, we can upgrade the dagger and the sword. We won't do the second dagger. And that should be it. From here we're headed over to Whiterun. I'm going to seek out those two wolves at some point. If they ever cross our paths, they'll die. But we're going to head to Whiterun and do some of that stuff. Get the companions opened up in the next video. So we will leave that here. That'll do it for now. Thanks for watching. And if you have any critiques, questions, or anything about that, if you have any questions on what I've explained, or if I've misexplained it, or if it's different between the original Skyrim to new Skyrim SE, let me know in a comment. If you have any critiques for the video or things like that, like whether you don't want to hear cutscenes or you want to just, you know, if I ramble too far or too much, then just let me know in the comments there. And other than that, thanks for watching, and we will catch y'all later.